Hello friends, Tanya here with a video for Trinity Stamps, and I have a sneak peek for you. This one is going to feature some mini slimline tags and the Simply Sentimental-You dies and stamps. I am of course going with rainbow. I do love rainbow. I have a 6x6 piece of heavyweight white cardstock, and I have taken candied apple and squeezed lemonade and salvage patina. These are three of my favorite colors to use to combine and make a rainbow, since they are three of the primary colors. They are the three primary colors. They blend into a rainbow pretty seamlessly. I'm just going back and forth here a few times to get a good blend between my inks. I did have to re-ink my squeezed lemonade, and you're going to see lots of yellow on my hands. It was kind of messy, and I got it all over my stamp cleaning rag. So I'm going to take the 6x6 background red rubber stamp called the Encouragement Text, and I'm going to ink it up with the same colors again. Now I do have to do this a few times to get the impression I'm looking for. I'm going to add some of the candy apple on the bottom. I'm hoping to get a blend of orange between the red and the yellow here when I'm stamping the words. And since I have the paper stuck to the inside of my MISTI with a piece of washi tape, I'm not worried about it shifting. And all of these images, repetitive stamps of the same image, do stay perfectly aligned and stay nice and crisp. I'm coming back with the salvage patina, and I'm going to put that at the top of this panel. And I do give up and go back and get some orange ink to put on to add that orange layer on the center. I do clean the stamp between the inkings because I don't want to contaminate my pads. Here is that orange that I add, and yes, I do think you wanted to see all of that. Sorry if you didn't. Next, I'm going to take some liquid pixie dust, and I'm going to spatter it all over our panel. Now the text is just to add a texture to the background, and I want lots of shimmeriness to make this a very festive set of tags. I, as usual, am using the liquid pixie dust that's left in my little palette that I keep it in, and I didn't actually end up having to add any additional liquid pixie dust. Here are the Slimline Tag Dies. These are amazing. I am in love with them. They make so many beautiful tags. They even have the hole protector and some smaller tags that are not the same shape, and so many ways to use it. These are a couple of the middle-sized tags. I think it is the second and third to largest, and they do fit together on this 6x6 panel. If I'd made it just a smidgen larger, we could have gotten two of this size out of this piece of paper, because that tag measures 3x6 inches. Here we have the two pieces of the hole protector. I'm die cutting those with white and craft colored cardstocks, and it creates a beautiful little addition to your tag. It really adds some beautiful detail. So you take this very thin circle, and I'm going to use my tweezers to help me hold this and get it glued down, and I'm going to adhere that to the white tab part, and we'll adhere that to the top of the tag. Now this tag reinforcement, hole reinforcement die fits on all of the tags except for the two tiniest, like the circle one. There's a circle die, and then there's two elongated different shaped dies that this doesn't work on, but it works on all of this shape of die in this die set. Look at that, just perfect. I love it. Then I'm taking these balloon dies, and I'm pulling some vellum from my stash, and I'm taking the two smallest balloons and die cut those. I'm going to layer these onto the tag, and I'm going to take the big U from the Simply Sentimental-You stamp and dies, I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool because we're going to do some embossing here. I'm using the VersaFine, not Onyx Black, this is the Nocturne. I don't know if there's really a difference between the Nocturne and the Onyx Black. I just know that I don't have to mess with that flipping lid. The lid that was attached on the VersaFine Onyx Black, sometimes I get that flipped and then I drop the ink pad and it just makes a mess. I pulled out some clear sparkle embossing powder to go over the top of the multiple times stamped image. I wanted to get a good solid black image, so I stamped it a few times, and it was the very first time I'd used this stamp. And so now we have this sparkly black U, and we're going to also take a sentiment from the Simply Sentimental-You stamp set. I pulled out this rainbow pad from my stash, and I'm going to ink up the sentiment with this pad. I wanted it to coordinate with the rainbow tag. This one says, "A very happy birthday to you." Now we're going to take the coordinating dies. There's a long banner die that fits over this just perfectly. This is the longest sentiment sentence sentiment in this stamp set, and it does fit just perfect. You might think that it won't, but it does fit perfectly. Next, we're going to use the shadow die for this style of U, and we're going to die cut those quickly. I'm going to use my Sidekick. They do fit in this. If you have other sizes, it will work perfectly, but I did want you to see that they do fit in the Sidekick. I can't fit my big die cut machine under my videotaping area, so this works much better. Now, I was actually pleasantly surprised how well these balloons adhered without showing the glue behind them on this panel. I just put a couple dots on the 3 balloon vellums here, and I was going to let that vellum balloon hang off the end, but vellum is pretty delicate and I didn't want it to tear, so I adjusted that a little bit. Added some dimension behind the large U with some coaster blank scraps, and I'm going to adhere that directly over the top of those balloons. That's going to help keep those adhered down also. I have a little bit of coaster blank dimension behind the sentiment. And unlike cards, with tags, you don't have to stay within the confines of the basic shape of the tag. You can let your things hang off the edge. It's perfectly fine. We're also going to take these Dewdrop baubles that just came out. They came out in a full rainbow array. And we're going to use the Fireball, the Sun Glow, and I believe the Tropical Waters. That is the 3 colors that I used, and I took several of those sizes, and there are 5 sizes, love that, and adhered those up the tag. Next, I pulled out some of this rainbow hemp cord that I had in my stash. You can see that it's a little curly. I took my straight iron and ironed those flat. That's a quick tip for you. You can use your flat iron that you would normally use for your hair to straighten your ribbons and your cords when they have been in storage and you're ready to use them. Next, we're going to do pretty much the same thing for the smaller tag. I did take a different sentiment. This one says, it's going to say, "You are my favorite person," which I thought was perfect also for a rainbow themed tag. This will work for all kinds of what's the word I'm looking for? Occasion. And then I am going to use this elongated cursive U for the second tag. I also am heat embossing this with a clear sparkle embossing powder because I just love how that looked, especially with rainbow. Sparkles must accompany rainbow. I did go over the rainbow sentiment with the embossing powder, but not much of it stuck because I waited too long probably. But that would have been kind of fun if that had been sparkly too. So we're going to use the dies again. This fits in here a little less snugly than the other sentiment. Since this is not the longest, it is just slightly smaller. And here you can see how well this die lines up around that scripty long U. I really love how that looks. You can use the coordinating dies to create the fine detail also, and you could layer that up or just use the fine detail, but I really liked the black and white look on these particular tags. Here you can see how this long banner die cuts out the sentiment, and you don't have to do any adjusting. I was looking through my stash of Trinity dies and I found this trio heart panel for Slimline dies, and it does cut out 3 hearts. So I did want a heart behind this U, which I'm layering up ultimately with 4 additional layers of white cardstock, scrap cardstock. I did 2 right behind the U, added the layer of the heart, vellum heart, and then I add 2 more layers of white cardstock to give it a little extra height. Now again, with a tag, you can have as much dimension as you want because you don't have to try to fit it in an envelope. You're going to hang it on your package. And more dimension will just make this more special. So I say, go for it. I do use a little coaster blank behind this banner here, and I'm going to adhere it directly to the word U and to the vellum heart. Now keep in mind you have a little extra height behind that vellum, so you're going to want to put some coaster blank or whatever dimension that you're using behind the banner, behind the vellum too. So now we're going to adhere that directly to the tag, and it doesn't have to be centered, it doesn't have to be straight. You can do this however you would like. And as you can see, I have a plan. I've pulled out one of each size of these 3 different colors of gems, or excuse me, the Dewdrop Baubles, which I'm loving. They're iridescent with a solid color backing, and the backing changes the color of the bauble. I've done the Tropical Waters, the Sun Glow, and the Fireball again on this tag. And we're just going to scatter them liberally all over this tag. More is sometimes better. And when you're going for an over-the-top rainbow tag, I say you throw as many baubles on there as you can. My tag is almost finished. I have one more little tiny piece that I want to add. I think I had forgotten the tiniest one and I needed to add that one. I love that there are some super tiny gems or dewdrops in these sets. I'm taking that same rainbow hemp cord and I'm going to put that through the hole. I like to put the loop part or the fold part through the hole and then the ends, and then I tie a knot at the top so it doesn't slide off. And then you can use that tag however you would like. So there's my 2 rainbow tags, and I did make a couple other tags also. I actually did these first. So I started out with a green cardstock and I ink blended with Twisted Citron and Rustic Wilderness. And by starting with a green cardstock base, I didn't have to blend quite as much. So this didn't take me very long, and I created this lovely green. Then I pulled out the Holly Branch Distress Mica Spray Stain. I dried that with my heat tool, and I had sprayed a piece of craft colored cardstock also. We're going to use that later. I inked up the encouragement text background stamp with the Rustic Wilderness, and I only had to ink this once, and look at that. It is stunning. Love it. Die cut the same 2 size tags, and I'm going to use the coffee cup die from the Pillow Box die set. Now I have a piece of ink blended cardstock here, and I am using a snowflake from the Winter Winds stamp set. Beautiful. And I'm going to stamp that on this piece of ink blended cardstock. I'm going to use Walnut Stain Distress Oxide, and I only ink this once, and then I clean off my stamp and I used the Celestial Copper Delicata ink because I want a little shimmer, but I don't want to have to heat emboss it. So I stamped that right over the top of the walnut stain. And then I used all of these stamps dies to cut things out. And did you know that this is a larger version of the coffee cup tag die from the 2020 Trinity Stamps gift tag die set? That's still available. You can get that. The tiny and this size. I love it. I actually made a tag with each of these sizes. Here I'm assembling the gift tag, the coffee cup gift tag, which I'm not going to use as a tag. I'm going to add it to my tag as an element of the tag. I've adhered all of that. It comes together super fast, and there you go. So here are the first two tags that I made. I used the lovely Latte embellishments, the Baubles, to add detail to those. There's that little coffee cup, and I used most of the same stamps and dies. Here's a quick recap of the projects I made today. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know which of these projects you like the most and what you'd like to see in the future. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do that now. You will find links to all of the products that were used today in the description box below. And here are a couple more videos we thought you might enjoy. Until next time, bye-bye.